everyone. Let's dive into something pretty cool today. It's a Croatian digital solution. It's called FINKONSTRUKT.
Hmm.
And I got to say, this is not your average spreadsheet.
No, not at all. And what really struck me is that it's not some expensive software you have to buy. It actually uses things most people already have, like Google Sheets,
Oh, interesting.
even Microsoft Excel and SharePoint. It's
Yeah.
really kind of brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. No pricey licenses or anything. It really seems like the creator, this guy at Yorkos Versic, really wanted to make sure everyone could use it.
Definitely. And what's cool is that you build FinKonstrukt within your own Google or Microsoft account,
Okay.
meaning you own all of the data. No third parties are looking at it.
Okay, now I'm intrigued. So walk me through this. How does it work? I use spreadsheets a lot, but I'm not exactly building financial models over here.
Well, imagine like you're starting a construction project.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first thing you would do is create a very detailed cost estimate, breaking down every single expected cost. In Croatian, they call this a trokovnik.
Pršovnik. Got it. So how do we go from just a simple cost estimate to, a full-blown financial analysis?
That's where the magic happens. As your project keeps moving forward, you literally input every single transaction into a central sheet. Think of it like a digital ledger, keeping track of every invoice, every purchase, labor costs, anything and everything.
So we're talking about keeping track of everything. That sounds like a lot of data entry. Is that where FINKONSTRUKT comes in?
You got it. So FinKonstrukt takes all that data you put in, right, and it automatically categorizes it, does all the calculations, and it creates reports and analyses for you.
Okay, I'm starting to see how powerful this could be, but I'm guessing there's an art to, inputting the data correctly. Like, I could see things getting messed up pretty easily if you're not careful.
Yeah, for sure. So it's important to use the right signs when you're putting in the numbers. Plus for income, minus for expenses. And you also need to keep your situations. These are basically invoices tied to your cost estimate, your trokovnik, separate from general project expenses. It's all about making sure you're calculating your profit correctly,
Right. Okay. So we're feeding the system with all this accurate data. So then what kind of reports does FinKonstrukt give us back? What's the benefit of all this record keeping?
So there are a few reports that I think are really important. So first you have the trokovnik itself. This actually allows you to compare your budget, the original one, to how much you're actually spending.
Yeah.
And it can even warn you when you're getting close to those limits you set. So it's almost like an early warning system for going over budget.
That's going to be super helpful for those project managers who are trying to keep things on track. What else is there?
Well, then you have the Analyza Projecta. Think of this like your project dashboard.
Right.
In real time, you can see your contract value, all the invoices, you can see all the expenses. They're neatly categorized. And here's the big one. You can see your profit margin. All of this, all in one place.
Now, that's what I'm talking about. Profit margin is, the name of the game. This dashboard has got to be a lifesaver, right? Like catch problems before they happen.
Exactly. And that leads us to the Grafika Analyza. This is where it gets really cool. This one visually shows you all your costs, your earnings, even cash flow all over time.
Yeah.
You can really see the trends and, if any cash flow problems are coming up.
So you're not just staring at a spreadsheet, you're seeing like the whole story of your project play out. That's got to be really useful.
Totally. And you know what? They actually highlight a real example in the manual.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it shows how this Grafika Analyza actually revealed that the main contractor had to pay for the project themselves for a bit because the client was late on a payment. Imagine all the trouble that could have been avoided.
Wow. Yeah, that's a great example of how helpful it is to see the data visually, It's not just about the numbers, it's about understanding the story they're telling. Now I'm really starting to see why this FinKonstrukt is, catching on.
It really shows that sometimes the simplest solutions are the best ones. Speaking of simple, I've been thinking,
Yeah.
we've been using a lot of Croatian terms today, like trokovnik, situacija, and Analyza Projecta. So does that mean you need to speak Croatian to use FinKonstrukt? I'm kind of curious.
Oh, that's a great question. I'm curious, too. And speaking of curious, tell me more about this Jurko Šurzic. He's the brains behind all this, right?
Let's talk about him next.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Jurko Šurzic, he's pretty interesting. He's an electrical engineer, he's an instructor, and a digital systems architect. That's quite a combination.
Wow, that's quite a resume. I can see how all of that led to creating FinKonstrukt. It's cool how, different skills come together to make something new. What's his philosophy with this tool?
Well, one thing he said really stuck with me. He believes that bringing in digital tools should be done gradually and with help. It's not about, overloading people with technology, but actually empowering them to use it the right way. That's really cool, I think.
Yeah.
I agree. It's about understanding what people need, not just throwing tech at a problem. But, going back to my question earlier, do you need to speak Croatian to use this thing?
Oh, right. Well, the original materials are in Croatian, but there's an English version of the website and the manual. And the nice thing about spreadsheets is that the formulas and stuff, they're universal. You can just change the labels to any language you want.
Right. That makes sense. So it's accessible to pretty much anyone, no matter the language.
Yeah.
It's really cool how FINKONSTRUKT uses something as simple as a spreadsheet to do some really powerful stuff.
It shows what you can do when you really understand your tools, We don't always realize what's possible with the things we already have. You know what's really interesting to me? It's the bigger picture here. Like, we're not just talking about a spreadsheet. We're talking about making financial analysis available to everybody.
Yeah, that's a good point. Not every construction company can afford a fancy finance department or expensive software.
Exactly. So this kind of makes me wonder, could this work in other industries? What if, small businesses, freelancers, even nonprofits could use these same principles, a user-friendly way to manage their projects?
Now you're talking. The possibilities are pretty amazing. It goes back to what we were saying before, data ownership and visualization.
Exactly. Giving people the power to collect their own data, but also understand what it's saying.
And that's where the magic happens, right? You start making better decisions and doing things more efficiently.
You're essentially getting a real-time checkup on your project, even your entire business. You're not guessing anymore. You're using data to make your decisions. I bet this would help a lot of people.
I think so, too. And with FINKONSTRUKT, it's not a mystery. You're not just typing numbers into some black box and hoping for the best. You're the one building it. You know how it works. You can change it to fit your needs.
Exactly. And that's what makes it so powerful.
I agree. Anyone listening who works in construction or any kind of project-based work really should check out FINKONSTRUKT. We'll put links to the website and stuff in the show notes. It's a great example of how we can make complicated things easier and, just easier to understand using technology.
Maybe it'll even give you some ideas for your own work.
Yeah. It reminds us that anyone can come up with great ideas. Sometimes the best solutions are the ones that are simple and easy to use.
It's thanks to people like Jarko Srzic, people who are willing to share what they know and help others. So what do you think? What are the big takeaways from all this?
Well, I think it shows that anyone can do powerful financial analysis. You don't need to be a big company. You just need a spreadsheet and a little bit of know-how.
Right.
But I think it's even more than that.
Yeah, I agree.
It's about, rethinking how we see data and technology. It's not just for experts or big corporations. It's for everybody.
Yeah, it's about making information easy to understand no matter who you are.
Because when we give everyone access to data,
that's when real change can happen.
Yeah.
And that's pretty inspiring, I think.
It really is. And it actually reminds me of something. So it reminds me of when I was renovating my house. It was my first time doing anything like that.
Oh, wow.
And man, the budget, that was a nightmare.
Yeah, construction projects, they can get out of control pretty quick.
Tell me about it. I was using just a regular spreadsheet to track everything, but I was always second guessing myself. Am I spending too much? Is this even right? It was hard to really see how things were going.
Sounds like you could have used FINKONSTRUKT back then. Think about it. Seeing your whole budget you're spending and what you're expecting to spend all right there in front of you.
Oh, definitely. I did finish the project, but man, it was stressful. And then it kind of hit me this isn't just a problem for homeowners like me. It's got to be a big deal for anyone doing construction, on a much bigger scale.
Absolutely. And it's not just the money. It's the stress. Not knowing what's going to happen next.
You're right. And that's why I think FINKONSTRUKT is so cool. It's not just a tool. It's a whole different way of thinking. It's about giving people the information they need, transparency, control.
It shows us that there are simple solutions to tough problems.
So as you go about your week, your work, your projects, whatever, I want you to think about FINKONSTRUKT.
Yeah.
Think about owning your data, seeing it visually, and using tools that are easy to use.
And ask yourself,
Yeah.
How can I use data to understand my own work better? What's hiding in those numbers, just waiting to be found?
And, how can you share that knowledge with other people?
Because at the end of the day, data is just a story.
And we're the ones who get to tell it.
So thanks for joining us on this deep dive into FINKONSTRUKT.
We hope you learned a lot.
And maybe even got inspired.
And like always, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deeper. That's all for today. Thanks for listening.